Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to second series of the Conversations with a Professional. I am Patrick Machuhadebe, the current and serving Community and Campus Outreach Director of the Golden Key International Society of our Triangle Campus. This webinar is for the FNUS, EMS, and Law faculty. I would like to welcome you to the second series of it. Now, let us get to business, ladies and gentlemen. As I have welcomed you, this is the program that we're going to follow for today. The faculties are as follows: the EMS faculty, the Law faculty, and the FNUS faculty. Please do use the Q&A session, the Q&A chat box for all your inquiries and questions. Now, let's get to business.
Good evening, Golden students and esteemed guests. I am Dimakatum Achi, and I'm the president of the Golden Key International Society Vanderbilt chapter. Welcome to the second series of Conversations with a Professional by the Northwest University Vanderbilt Golden Key chapter. The series is aimed at awakening students' consciousness as to how the professional world of their choice operates. It also serves to connect students with these professionals. With that being said, at the bottom of your screen, there's a chat option. The chat option will be used for comments. Anything that is not a question, you can just type on the chat option. And all questions, please use the Q&A option at the bottom of your screen. The speakers will try to respond to the Q&A, to the questions as swiftly as they can after they're done with their presentations. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome.
Thank you very much, Dimakato. That is our president for the chapter. Now, as I've stated before, our first speaker from the EMS faculty, a very, very good speaker, who's Mr. Bongomusa Zondo from the EMS faculty. Sir, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Patrick, as well as Dimakato. I'd really like to show my appreciation for the invite. So I've been asked a few questions from a career perspective, and I'm going to try to be as honest and as authentic as possible. And I'm going to be very much critical as well in terms of the economic profession. So one of the questions that was raised was the fact that economics is such a versatile field that can be applied in various fields. So that's a very nice way of looking at it. And it has its own advantages as well as its own disadvantages. So the main advantage from my perspective is that having an economics background, you can lend yourself a job in any industry, as there will always be a need for companies to take economic conditions into consideration when they're making their decisions. That's good. But when we look at a first-year student who is probably from a previously disadvantaged environment, they don't really know much about what an economist does. And majority of young students don't have the privilege of being exposed to what economists do on a day-to-day basis. Maybe it's due to the fact that unlike your accounting and your law firms, we do not have your big four economic companies that each and every first year student would say, one day I'd like to see myself working for a company like KPMG or PricewaterhouseCoopers. A lot of undergraduate kids don't have that visibility or don't have that idea of what they do. And this at times has an impact in how they attack or how they approach their studies, given the fact that without a clear vision, you do not really know that I actually need to get 70% average from first year or 65% average from first year to qualify to get into honors. And once I get to honors, I have to also have these marks or maintain these marks in order to get to a master's level. Given the fact that without a master's degree in economics, it's very much difficult in terms of finding that a decent first job. So I conclude by saying that first year students or undergraduate students need to do their research at an early period of their studies of what they want to do and where they want to work, as having a versatile approach towards your career might make it very much difficult for you to focus, or you might just choose that wrong first job that might lead you to misery. That's how I'm going to answer the first question. And then the second one is, how does one go about choosing a major? So that's another thing about economics. Given the fact that it's so dynamic, one is never really sure of whether should I venture into being into the economist field, or should I venture into being an econometrician, or should I go into risk, or should I go into statistics? And at times it makes things very much blurry. But to answer this question, one has to be very much clear in their goal, which has to be in line with what you want to do, where you want to, and where you want to work. And the reality is that we are facing a pandemic of graduate unemployment. And the root cause of this problem is a mismatch of skills and jobs that exists in the market. So when choosing a major, you must take into account the market needs. And does the market really need more economists? You should ask yourself whether the market really needs more risk analysts, or does the market really need more consultants, given the fact that these are the fields that a majority of us have goals or plans of venturing into. But from my experience, given the fact that the market is currently looking for individuals that have T-shaped skills. A T-shaped skilled individual is one that has a deep specialist background. This could be your economics or your risk, but along with a desire to learn other disciplines such as IT. And it is reported that in 5 years' time, if you do not know how to code, you will be deemed as illiterate. So I conclude by saying one needs to be aware of the needs of the market and choose a major that will allow them to have access to employment opportunities, and also have a desire to be willing to learn other courses that go beyond the EMS fraternity. The next item that I'd like for us to have a conversation relates to how does one seamlessly evolve from being from being a student to being a professional. To answer this, as a student, the most important thing in your undergraduate or postgraduate level is getting those marks. And those marks, having those high marks, will make you stand head shoulders when it comes to getting access to employment opportunities. To achieve that, one needs to be hardworking and also have a certain level of IQ. But once you join the professional field, a high IQ and hard work is not as important as emotional intelligence. Because when you become a professional, the most important thing is building and establishing those relationships room or to adopt the needs of the people or to adapt to the needs of the client. As there isn't much need from a practical perspective, but the need to be competitive, master's degree. And then the next item that I'd like for us to have a conversation about is what does, how can we relook at institutions in Africa? So Africa is facing a multitude of challenges to issue economics. We have South Africa specifically has a big challenge when it comes to growing the economy. It has a big challenge when it comes to creating jobs, as well as addressing the systemic inequality that has existed since 1994. So, but when you look at the policies that are in place, they do not seem to be addressing the root cause of the systemic challenges that South Africa specifically is facing with. I'm going to be very much controversial, and I hope the faculty will forgive me for this, but is inflation targeting beneficial for that auntie or that gogo who stays in Orange Farm? Wouldn't us focusing on economic growth as compared to inflation targeting be beneficial for the South African, or for the challenges that are facing the South African economy? So to answer the question is, we have a multitude of challenges in South Africa from an economics perspective, but I call to institutions to also be radical in how they challenge these problems in terms of doctrinating students to be more critical in their thinking and to focus on solving African challenges as compared to growing shareholders' wealth. And then the last item is for, I'll be just giving you an overview of what I do on a day-to-day basis. So I work for one of the big 4 banks, and I am working as a solution owner. So what we do is we develop products for clients, and then I also manage the income statement, ensuring that this team are promoting the product, as well as dealing with all the queries that relate to the product that I'm responsible for. And that's it for my side. I don't know if there's any questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Zondo. I'm pretty sure you said a very much mouthful about how vast the economy is and the steps that one person should take when venturing into the field. Point like your emotional intelligence, adaptability, and you touched as well on inflation targeting, which is a very much mouthful. And just a reminder to all attendees, please do use the Q&A chat options to ask all your questions, and Mr. Zondo will attend to them swiftly. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank Mr. Zondo for that immaculate session. I would like to introduce our second speaker, still within the EMS faculty. I know my majority of you might know him or might have seen him around campus. I would like to welcome Mr. Tembile Marosha. Sir, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Patrick. Can everyone hear me?
Absolutely.
Patrick, may you please confirm? Is my speaker all right? Okay. Golden Key community, thank you for giving me such an opportunity for me to address and to change the mindset and to clarify a few things that students, whether undergraduate or postgraduate, have of the corporate world out there. As my poster here that on the shared screen illustrates that also working in still in the month. After the 18 months, equip me with the necessary skills. I was also leadership initiatives whereby I got to meet with a lot of different characters. A lot of skills that you get to deal with on the day-to-day basis in the business. These are the communication skills. These are been setting up events such as this, important and invaluable within the company. And also, I like it that even when you apply to these companies, not just in the banking, they do look outside the sphere of academic purposes, just like Bongi Musa has rhetoric skills, whereby I adapted. I got to adapt a little bit more quickly than my peers who are in the graduate program as me. So I would encourage me to take part in initiatives there on campus, that second rotation, whereby my says that if you can't do anything about coding, you will be deemed just surplus to requirements. So technically, my course wasn't heavily focused on the technical aspects of finance, but more fundamentally so. So I do get the understanding and I do get the purposes of why I'm doing what I'm doing. That's why I suppose I was able to get the post. But yeah, I've been equipping myself technically on the side. So this is one of the advices that I'll give to someone who's a postgraduate now, to go out there and look for courses that are for free, that have to do anything about coding or modeling, because that's where the corporate world is going now. Another question that I was asked is there a difference in what you were doing in class and what you are doing now? If so, what are those differences? So I believe that I've touched a bit on this in my previous answer. The difference is that technically what I'm doing now, which I'm monitoring the models, I was not doing in class. What I was doing in class, I was just doing the fundamentals of evaluating risk in terms of credit. As I'm focused in risk management, so in evaluating risk, the fundamentals, that you check the creditworthiness of the client and all of those fundamentals. However, here we do check those things. However, we do monitor the behavior. And monitoring the behavior of a client, you do it through models and codings and reading models. So from a technical perspective, that's the difference between what I was doing in class and what I'm doing now. So now it's more technically focused, and what I was doing in class, it was just the overview of everything that I'm doing now. So I can say that I was not that entirely lost, but it's just a matter of me learning to code on the side. So the following question, there's a follow-up question on how can these differences be addressed from the intuitional or personal level. So my advice is that every student out there that wants to go into corporate, I assume that all of you want to go into corporate, especially the ones that are doing risk management or even economics that end up into banking or even at consulting. They should go outside the sphere of their curriculum in academia and study things on Udemy. That there's many online courses that are for free even that you can do on the side and to look very appealing on your CVs. So that's how you can address these differences. And I can say if you were to put all of these things on your CV, it will set you apart and you will have that competitive advantage, especially in such a pandemic whereby everyone has a degree and everyone has an honors degree. And all of you are applying for that one post whereby there's only about 4 posts that are available. And you'll be competing against people who have experience, people who even have like MBAs. So to equip yourself to keep learning as much as you can outside your academia, especially the technically related stuff, will set you apart and will help you so much in the long run. One more thing, the other question that I was also asked was, as a person who is sitting behind the desk like me, what advice would you pass on to me? Well, aside from studying and getting the necessary grades that you should get and to ensure that you keep your grades just above average and to make sure that you do pass, I'll say that I would like to stress the importance on people when they do their CVs. Like, as students, what I've realized is that we just update our CV once, and every time we apply, we just send CVs. And the only difference that we just do on other applications is that we just change or alter our cover pages. So I'd like to reiterate that when you do apply for any post that you are applying for, always edit your CV to the needs or to what you think the company you're applying for is looking for. Like, always alter it. Don't make your CV to be one size fits all, because it will likely be passed on. So that's my advice to someone that's a student right now, because there's a lot of graduates that are unemployed, even more so that are not called to interviews because we don't edit our CVs. We just update our CVs to what we do have and the aspects and the expertise that we have, but we don't alter it to what the company stands for. Even when you do your cover letter, make sure that you are addressing and make sure that you address what the needs of the company is looking for, and make sure that you read the application or the post that you are applying for and what they are looking for, and try your best to alter it to what they are looking for. You're more likely or you stand more chances of being recalled for another. You stand more chances to be recalled for an interview that way. So I'll recommend certain things. This is applicable to everyone that's attending here, even those ones that are not in economics or even risk management. So when you do make your CVs, go to a site that's called goodcvs.com. Like, these are the modern CVs that even includes your picture on it. It's already set in a template. You just choose the template that you would like to do, and it's for free also. You just edit on that template. There's also a cover letter too that you can edit on that template. So in that way, your CVs is structured perfectly, like it's perfect. Let me just say that. So yeah, these are the advices that I'll give to any students out there. So yeah, we'll be moving on to the questions that I was being asked. So what I am reading now, okay. Oh, I see one is saying, Mr. Tembile, what do you mean by altering your CV? Okay, what I mean is that you should, let's say, like me, as I was a student just last year, not so long ago, I got to apply in a consulting firm and I got to apply in a banking. So what I mean about altering is that when I read the post that I'll be applying for, Now I'm in a credit risk, and where else at PwC or even Deloitte, where I even got the post, but then I chose to be in a banking sector. When you apply to a consulting firm, like your CV, especially your cover letter, should be addressing what the requirements and what the post is requiring of you as a possible candidate. So you should not just make your CV like, okay, let me make a more practical example. Well, your CV is your CV. You can't obviously change your credentials or what you did. But when you address in a cover letter of what you did at school and what makes you a perfect candidate, try to read what the application requires or who they are looking for or who this perfect candidate is. Paint yourself as that perfect candidate in the cover letter. Try to address like the subjects that you did or the majors that you did in school, address them that you love doing this and in this you learned 1 and 2. And you also like to see yourself working for this firm because your values are in sync or in line with the company that you are going for. If you are applying for, let's say, consulting, you should emphasize the expertise that you have in terms of communicating. You should emphasize the skills that you do have in terms of working with people, and you should even emphasize your business acumen in terms of the things that you did at school. If you were in a community, or if you were in a body whereby you were in leadership positions or anything, try to even bring that into your CV and your cover letter to say you did this and this. Like, you should be practical as practical as you can with this thing. So the things that you did in your golden key or as a house commit or even in your leadership positions, even when you were playing football or whatever. So you should bring all of the expertise that you learned and put them to paint yourself as this perfect candidate. Because the reason that they are reading your application in the first place is because they know you did the right course, or they know that you did an applicable course, but so does other 500 applicants. But for you to edit your cover letter and to keep filtering your CV to the demands and what the company is looking for, you stand more chance in you being called for that interview. So I don't know if I answered the question more clearly, but more than welcome for follow-up question if there's anything that's not understood there. Also, not sure if this question was asked to me or it was asked to Ngumusa. I see, what advice do you have about students who are studying a course that might not work for them in the future? What advice do you have about students who are studying a course that might not work for them in the future? Okay, the same advice that I said in my last question. Try to look outside your academia. Go and do these 3 courses that are for free, especially in coding. As you are entering, as you are already in the 4th industrial revolution. And also what I like about these corporates now more than ever is that they are not looking for specific courses, but they are looking for people that have different backgrounds. As in my graduate program now, I'm working with people that did engineering. I'm working with someone that also did industrial psychology. So we all have different backgrounds. But if you were to look outside your own academia and try to do all of these free courses, especially that are technically related in terms of IT, data mining, or anything that has to do with data capturing or even models, just try and do the thing, and it will work for you out in the future, hopefully in the near future. Also, can I please ask, now that you spoke about us involving ourselves to do other activities, how do you do time management? Well, as for time management, yeah, that one is one thing that we all struggle with, to be quite honest with you guys. Yeah, I remember when I was still a student, especially in my honors year, time was something of the essence whereby I had to both do my research project, I have to do my course, and I have to still do my leadership duties, especially when the meetings will take more longer than they would have been planned. What I'll do is that obviously you'll sleep less, and you'll prioritize that you don't do anything else before you finish something of the highest priority. So you need to prioritize what's urgent and what's not urgent. There's some tasks that are urgent but don't really need that much effort to do. They can be done within a few minutes or within an hour. Try to address all of these things first. Then you can attend the ones that are more important. And also, I'll also like to stress the importance of you making time to apply for different posts. I won't lie to you guys, but the first semester of my last year, I kept applying for different posts more than I studied. So a day I'll make sure that I apply for one post. As you know that to find the right post for you to apply for might take even more than 3 hours or so. Because to search for a company, to search for an open application, sometimes you find that a post is not open. It will only be open in September. At that same time, it's only May. You jot it down, you write it down that you should get back to this thing just before you study. So you manage your time based on the agency of everything, and you also work in time. And as soon as the semester starts, try to write all of the important dates. I'm talking about your tests, your exams, even your assignments. Write them down in advance. Even write something that you are going to submit in May. Write it down in as soon as the semester starts, just so that you know that what you have or what you should accomplish the following week, even the following month. That way you can know, you can set your meetings or your other extracurricular activities or even duties. You can set them around there.
Apologies, Mr. Tim.
Sorry.
2 minutes left.
Okay, let me just try and answer everything else. How and when did you do your coding short course? Well, I'm currently doing SARS now, as it's what I currently work with every day. So the good thing with us is that we were engaged to do these things. So I study SARS through Udemy. It's a free online course that I do it. So I do it even on my working hours. I do it because I'm working with it. So I'm learning on the job. And for you guys, because you're still students now, to do all of these things will equip you further and will put you at the competitive advantage when you do apply to getting into banking, more importantly, especially risk. It will equip you very, very well. So can I please ask, now that you spoke about us involving ourselves? Oh, I've already answered this question. I think I've answered every question. Okay, wait, sorry, Patrick, there's another one. Is there still a chance of qualifying for honors if your first year average wasn't 70%, yet your second year average is above 70%? Well, it depends on what honors program that you are doing. If you look at the credentials or the requirements, the prerequisite of every honors degree that you'll be doing, they're looking at specific modules that you need to get a specific average at. As you are still in your second year, I can say you have a chance, because you can look at the specific modules that you need to, let's say one module that's a second year module first semester, and you're already in a second semester. I mean, you can repeat this course, this module again in your third year, just so that you make sure that you get a minimum average in that specific module. So let's say you want to do risk and honors in risk, you will just look at which modules that are important for you to qualify for that honors program, and try to make sure that you get a minimum average in these modules. As you still have a year that's left on your degree, just try to address all of these modules that you didn't get a minimum average in. So yeah, Patrick. I think that will be all. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, sir, for that. You were just right on time with answering all your questions. I strongly believe that a whole lot of people did hear a mouthful of words that you said, from the needs of the company, catering your CV, altering it, and other information that you did share with us. We'll do share it on the chat box. I believe this is the correct time for me to indicate that the Golden Key has a partnership with FPD, where they are offering short courses for free online. So you can go on the Northwest or on the Golden Key website, so you can be able to check out those free courses that they are offering. They're all for free to Golden Key members. And with that, I would like to introduce another speaker from another faculty. I'm pretty sure some of you who are within the law field will be able to recognize her. Her name is, can you hear me?
Okay, I would like to introduce the first speaker for the law faculty, Florence Mputi. Ms. Mputi, the stage is yours.
Hello, I cannot see myself or the screen. Is it gone?
You can start your video if you want us to see you, or you can disable it like it is disabled now, but we can't see you at the moment.
Oh, okay. I'm asking about the screen. I cannot see the screen, so I would not be able to see. Oh, okay, here it is. Okay, thank you. I will be enabling it just now. I don't know if I'm visible.
Yes, you are visible.
Oh, okay, thank you. Thank you for the invitation to today's session. I am honored to be here. So I am Florence Mputi. I am a BA Law, LLB graduate, and a proud alumni of the NWU and a Golden Key member. So I'll be talking about the less conventional career path that is taken by law students today, and which also offers an alternative to those who feel like they do not want to go into practice. So the field that I'll be talking about is legal and compliance / regulatory. So like I said, not everybody's going to be a lawyer. And it's not because you are dumb or you are stupid or anything like that, but mainly because you might find another career interest, such as myself and others who have chosen to take on that path. Now, what happens in legal and compliance and regulatory is that we follow process and procedures to ensure that an organization complies with the laws and regulations of a country. Now, to give an example of a day-to-day basis, if we take the telecommunications industry for an example, ICASA, the regulator, it says you have to slash your data prices because they're too high or they may be too low. Now, what a regulatory and compliance team do is that they'll take that regulation, that new regulation, they will analyze it and review it, and then they will then propose changes that need to be done by the company in order to comply with the new regulation. So the same would be relevant in the banking industry, for example. If now the Reserve Bank if there's a regulation with new interest rates, then the compliance team will look at that new regulation, review it and analyze it, and say that we as the bank, our interest rates are too high and they do not comply with the regulation. Therefore, we are at a risk of a fine or a lawsuit, and this is how we have to change it so that we are in compliance with this regulation and the law. So that, in simple terms, if I can explain, that is what you would do in regulation, compliance, and legal, as opposed to being a lawyer where you attend to court cases. Now, compliance officers are needed in every sector. I cannot think of a sector where compliance is not needed. It's a growing field. As you'll notice, each and every company nowadays needs a compliance officer to ensure that their company is complying with the laws, which is something not lawyers can do all the time because they are focused on making sure that the company is winning its court cases. So what we also do in the compliance field is to ensure that the company stays away from fines, that it does not receive fines, and it does not receive lawsuits. Now this offers an alternative for anybody who feels like they do not want to attend court every day. Anybody who feels like they do not want to attend court and who would rather not have a 9-to-5 office job. This is what this offers for them. If you feel like you'd rather work in a corporate setting where you don't have to wear your robe and all of that, this offers exactly that. But it also has its own interesting challenges. Just in case anybody out there is thinking that it's boring because you sit in the office. No, it has its very own interesting challenges, and you can very much still use your degree, your law degree in this field. It requires a law, your law degree, so you can still put it to good use even in this field. So for the questions, I think I'll leave most of the questions to the next speaker because they're very practice related. So I think the speaker will be the next speaker will be more suited to answer those for you. But then what I can talk on is for advice for the students. I think anybody from your first year, I think it's very much important to get rid of the 50% pass mentality. After you graduate, you realize that will work against you and not for you. So I think from your first year, but even if you're not in your first year, you can still make up for it. But to get rid of that 50% mentality is highly important because it is really tough out there. The job market is really tough. And the truth of the matter is the better marks you have, the better chances you have of getting a job. Also check your peers, the people that you hang around. It's important to surround yourself with people who want to work. So if you know you are a hard worker, it's important to surround yourself with hard workers because you will push each other. And push personal boundaries. For example, with leadership, you don't have to be affiliated to a political campus structure in order to be in leadership. If you know you are good at being a DJ or art, or you can lead there. You can lead from any strong point that you have. A good example that I like to make mention of is with a friend of mine, Tando Peters. I remember we were standing for a leadership position where she stood for a campus affiliation. she lost that election, but what she then went to do is to start her own committee. So she lost in one committee, but then she went on to start another one. And that is what I want to encourage you to do, not to be scared to make your own doors. If one door is closed, that you should go and open your own and make your own. And then do research while you are still in school. Don't wait for your final year or anything. Start as early as you can. Look beyond just the material that they give you in class about your career field and the people in that career field. One platform that I love to engage with is For Women in Law by Noemi Muya, who is now a lawyer and is also an alumni of the Northwest University Fall campus, former deputy president of the Golden Key, actually, on the campus. She has a online platform that is For Women in Law. I'd advise you all to go and check it out. It's a beautiful platform that informs you of what practice is like, and there's different women on there that she interviews regarding the law and how they made it and how they made a success of themselves in the law career. I wish we had something during our time, but it's there now, and I'd advise you to go look at it. It's really interesting. And then finally, I'd say try to build a presence for yourself online and on campus. For online, I'd say LinkedIn. LinkedIn is really important. If you can try build your profile and build it up from as early as you can. For myself, in closing, on LinkedIn, I am Florence Mputi, and you can connect with me on there. And yeah, I think my time is up. That is all from me. If there's any questions, you can please direct them to the Q&A and I will answer them. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you very much. I see law people, they are very much intrigued because there are questions within in the Q&A. So could you please do kindly attend to those questions? While this will be introducing our second speaker. I can see that there's a strong career field that other people can follow other than just being a lawyer, and you just gave us an insight with regards to that. Now with our next speaker, a very, very keynote speaker within the law faculty, an individual who's got his own law firm. A whole lot of people have been looking forward to his session. I would like to welcome Mr. Gift Ngube. Sir, the floor is yours. Can you hear me, sir? Meanwhile, as he is still trying to connect to all other speakers, could you please kindly provide us with your details on the chat box for those people who might want to interact with you after the webinar? I strongly believe that Mr. Ngube is ready for us now. Sir, the floor is yours.
Yes. Good evening. Thank you very much for this opportunity. I'm not going to waste anyone's time. What I will do is I will just go through the questions that have been posed to me. The first one being, what would my advice be in relation to someone who wishes to someone who is doing, let me just get the questions up because I seem to have a problem with that. Someone who is doing BA or BCom before doing their LLB. Look, my advice in this regard is simple. My view is that should one wish to be an attorney, be it you want to be an attorney or an advocate, it is really not necessary for you to go through any other any other undergrad degree prior to you doing your LLB. It was compulsory for universities like VETs prior to, I think, in the past 2 or 3 years for one to do so. But at this particular moment, my personal view and my experience has been that anyone who wants to do an LLB, it is advisable for you to even start with the LLB before you even do anything. Should you not like your LLB or feel it's helpful to you, you may change your career at any particular point. But if you are to start with something else and then move forward to you doing your LLB, it then limits your, or actually gives you a challenge, because it's quite difficult to break into the field if you are older. Let's say you're over 30 years or, well, towards your late 20s. The LLB, or rather the law field, is more suitable for someone who is actually younger, someone who is in their mid or early 20s, because particularly the work that you do, being a candidate attorney or doing privilege, requires you to be very young and for you to be submissive to those who are above you. The second question that has been asked to me, it relates to how the pandemic has affected the law firm. So since I run my own practice, I might indicate the fact that the current situation, which relates to the COVID-19 lockdowns and all of that, has made it very difficult for us to do to do our work and to also be financially sustainable. However, the good thing about the world changes is that it has brought us maybe, I might say, 5 years quicker to the fourth revolutionary industrial revolution, by us being forced to actually partake in the technology that has been developed in the world. We are in field that is slow in actually changing its tradition or moving away from its traditional norms. So the introduction, or rather the pandemic, has forced us to actually have things like virtual courts, more service or attendances through electronic means. That has actually been the positive. But besides that, financially, it has given us a lot of challenges. The third question that I've been requested to answer relates to my advice if you honestly want to be an advocate or an attorney. My advice mainly goes to those that are actually still at varsity. It is very, very important. It's actually amongst the most important thing for one that can do, is to get as much experience as possible prior to you being in the profession. We meet a lot of people that actually do not even have an idea of what a court document is. Most universities are theoretical in nature, and you seemingly more surprised with the norms that you find in the law firm dynamics in courts. The protocols and procedures that are followed are quite difficult for an ordinary person to understand. So should you wish to be an attorney or an advocate, my advice would basically be that do it as soon as possible, or rather be engaged as early as possible to enable yourself to understand all of these things. The next question would be, what advice would I give to a student who aspires to have their own law firm, or who think acquiring experience from another law firm is important? Look, if you basically want to get to be in a position where you start your own law firm, it is important, it is critical for you to find yourself in a position where you are easily relate with people. So your involvement in university should go beyond you actually attending classes. It should be you being involved in a lot of public interactions, societies that require you to be actively participating with individuals. So starting a law firm requires one to have a solid foundation of relating with people. Therefore, it is very crucial for one to have that ability or that particular skill to understand and engage with people. So that would be my advice in that respect. The next question is, what advice would I give to an aspire? Okay, that I've answered. The importance of LLM before acquiring articles or pupillage. As I've alluded to this before, for you to do your pupillage or for you to do your articles, you are required to be young, according to me. So the advice that I would have is, your LLM is not important. Should you ever need to do your LLM at a later stage, or should you need it for your career advancement, you can always do that later. Articles, pupillage are very, very important. They're the basis or the spinal cord for one to be called an attorney or an advocate. They are the foundation in this profession. So it is very crucial for one to actually do them at an early stage. My advice would always be, as early as possible, get yourself into the profession, get yourself acquainted with either articles or pupillage. Now, another question that is coming in here is, would it be beneficial for one to do VEC work? My answer to this is that VEC work is very, very important. Should you find yourself in third year or in fourth year having not done a VEC work, it is my view that you would have done a disservice to yourself, because if universities or institution of learning do not particularly provide the necessary exposure and experience that you require for you to understand what the profession is all about. So do it as soon as possible, even at an early stage of the second year, if need be, do it. Dedicate about 2 weeks of your time on a yearly basis to a law firm or to any legal practitioner where you actually engage and learn, get experience. You don't have to be paid for this. Smaller firms like ours do not usually particularly pay everyone that we get in, but we are willing to give in work for people to actually experience what we do and for them to benefit in that sense. Okay. The other question that I've received from the live chats is that, can one open a law firm straight after completing their articles, and which challenges do you come across? Certainly, I'm an example of one person that opened their law firm immediately after finishing articles. I may not have opened my law firm immediately after, because I took a 6-year period to face the to actually minimize the challenges that you face when you're actually starting your law firm. What I did was I went and I secured employment for 6 months. Within that 6-month period, I registered my firm. It is an expense for you to open a law firm. So if you are finishing your articles, mainly if you're coming from a small law firm, small to medium law firms do not pay that well. You're probably getting it about 3.5 to about 5. At best, you're earning about 8,000 rand. So for you to save and to be able to open your own law firm is going to be a challenge. You are also looking at a period of about 1 year to 2 years where your client base is very low and you need to rely mainly on your own pocket to survive. So it is possible. However, it is important that you lay a proper foundation. If you want to open your law firm and you find yourself in a small or medium law firm, my advice would be, you need to starve yourself during your articles so that you are able to have funds to register a law firm. I think I would have answered that question. The other question that if I look back at my university years, is there anything that I would do differently? Now, in regard to this question, a lot of people would think that having bad marks is actually a bad choice, is a bad thing. I would say I'm a living example that such isn't true. I basically wouldn't change much in my university years. My marks were quite low, and yet my achievements are higher for someone who had such such marks. The reason why I say this, why I wouldn't change anything, is because I found myself in a very small law firm. It was a small to medium law firm, and I got the experience that I needed. People with higher marks find themselves in the top 5 law firms in the country, or the top 10 law firms in the country, which basically gives you nothing but a glorified title and a big salary, and you find yourself carrying bags for advocates, never appearing in courts, and indexing and paginating. Whereas the reality of the fact was, I would get a file early in the morning and I had to attend to a court case. That was an experience that was invaluable. It was an experience that actually provided me with the foundation for me to open my own firm, for me to be where I am at an early age, and for me to be able to say I'm a successful director of a law firm at my age. The other question that I see that comes from Anonymous, he says that if one wants to be a prosecutor, does one have to do a privilege training? State prosecutors are not per se. They've got their own program that you attend to. So it's called aspirant prosecutorship. You basically have to apply to the NPA. They usually open their applications, and when you apply, there is an exam that you will have to take. After taking that exam, if you do pass and you do make the cut, you will then find yourself possibly attending to being a prosecutor. But the biggest challenge you have is that for the better part of the past almost 10 years, I might say, 7 to 10 years, the NPA hasn't been employing prosecutors because of the financial challenges they were facing. Mismanagement in that particular department has led them to be unable to acquire services of new prosecutors. Also, they are also looking into getting prosecutors from within the Department of Justice. So they are no longer hiring mainly external, but people who are within the Department of Justice. So if you want to be a prosecutor, it could be a long route, especially at this particular moment, for you to get into that route of the profession. The abuse that we suffer from senior practitioners. Look, my view is that there is a tradition. The profession is a white-dominated field. So even, not just white, but white male-dominated. So the majority of white men think that they are owed something, and respect to them should come at any cost. So it's not per se that we are disrespected as young practitioners, but there is a tradition that is still within the mindset of a lot of legal practitioners, and you find yourself being treated as not an equal or a colleague, but as a lesser being if you are in courts. The experiences that I've had senior advocates who have actually spoken to me as if I was garden boy or something of that nature. Not disrespect to anyone who is a garden boy or anything of that sort, but there is a level of respect you gave to a colleague, and I felt that I was not given what was due to me. But my approach has always been, the mere fact that you have disrespected me doesn't mean that I have to disrespect you. My response has always been to be firm and to show the person that I'm actually educated enough to be where I am, and I'm also not a quota system recruitee in the legal profession. So that has worked for me. However, it does not always work, because you will get some people who are racist, and you'll get people who look down on others, even not because of your skin color, but merely just because of your age, and even your own race will look down on you and actually treat you badly. But it's part of the profession. It's part of, I think that's what we get even in corporate world. I've had an experience in corporate, and my experience has been that if people look down on others, it's not even about race or anything to that effect. The next question is, what
Mr.
qualities
Mube,
does, sorry? Yes,
at a point of exigency, apologies that I have to cut you off
not a
there.
problem.
May I please just welcome the next speaker so that we can give him enough time to speak so that we can go for a Q&A. But before that, I would like to welcome Timakaso. She reiterate a point. Timakaso, the floor is yours.
Oh, thank you, Patrick. The question on vacation work, I think most students now, especially, my classmates, most of them want to work for the top 5 firms. Most of them, they want to apply to these top 5 firms for vacation work and everything. And although it would be nice for you to have that on your CV, Adams and Adams, those top 5 firms, but there's always a law firm near you that's always willing to take in someone and at no cost. I mean, they need extra hands and you need the experience, because what I've learned is that most people struggle with their pupillage or with their articles because they don't know anything that's practical about court. All we are taught is sitting down, studying your textbook. And when you actually have to go to court, you realize that going to court is just like the cherry on top. There's a lot that happens before you actually have to sit down, before you actually have to go to court, So I just want to make that point clear that there's always a law firm near you. You can even walk there. You don't even have to be paid for that experience because it's very important. It makes your life very easy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, President. She is the president of the Golden Key. She's also doing my hands. She saw the need for her to reiterate that point. Going to our next faculty, as you might have heard, the spiral that the speakers have been saying of the mantra of saying that since we are revolutionizing work and our lives to the fourth industrial revolution, we saw it very fit that this faculty will be able to fill us in with each and everything that is needed for us to go within to maneuver to that virtual world. For our next speaker, you pardon me there for the error that I made. It's Mr. Koketso Malope from the FNUS faculty. Sir, the floor is. Mr. Koketso, can you hear me? If you can hear me, the floor is yours, sir. Yeah, well, you see, we have some of the glitches here, some technical errors. However, allow me to add again to the speakers. Please do share your contact details on the chat box for individuals who would like to interact with you privately, and to also the speakers that have spoken. Could you please do kindly respond to the messages that are on the chat box? You can do so by typing in the answers of that, while we're still waiting for Mr. Kogetsu to log in because he's saying that he's having internet problems. And Mr. Mube, I'm not sure if he's still there, sir. Yeah, well, I'm getting word that he's going to be in just in a couple of seconds. We could just give him that time as some of the speakers will be attending to the questions, the Q&A. Not a problem, seems as if he's delaying with the internet problems. Mr. Mube, apologies, would you please do carry on from where you left behind, from where you left from? Apologies for the back and forth. Mr. Mube. Okay, no problem. I would like to also introduce back Florence because she had some of the questions that she was supposed to answer that are within the Q&A. Ma'am, are you still available?
Hello, Patrick. Yes, I'm still here, but they can get the answers in the Q&A because I've answered two of them already, and I'm busy answering another one right now. Will that be okay if they can look look at them in the Q&A answer box? I don't know if it's available to the participants.
Yes, it is available to all the participants. So what you're saying is that you're gonna be answering them by typing?
Yes, I've in fact already answered two of them, and I'm busy answering the third one right now.
Okay, no problem. I see Mr. Koketso is logging in right now, so I believe he's gonna be on in just a few seconds. Mr. Koketso.
Hi guys.
You're here. The floor is yours, sir. We do understand the connection problems, but the floor is yours.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I hope you can all see me. Yeah, I'm hit by load shedding, so I apologize for the, the lighting. Anyways, so I'd like to thank you all for inviting me to be part and parcel of this engagement, of this
Okay, seemingly that Mr. Koketso has problems. I would like to call upon Mr. Musawenkosi or Mr. Tembele Marosha if there's any other point that you missed that you'd like to add on, seeming that or Mr. Koketso has problems with his internet.
You guys lose me.
You keep on disappearing, sir. Yeah, we can hear you now, sir.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Hello. Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you, sir.
Hello. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, sir. We can hear you clearly. Well, it's not a problem. Seemingly that Mr. Koketso has problems with his internet. Natasha, could you please kindly do the honors by muting his mic so we can assist him with connecting again? With the previous speakers, I would just like to bring in on the table now. If you have any other point that you would like to raise that you probably were not able to raise the last time, I can give you the floor. Mr. Temile.
Hi, Patrick.
Yes, Laura.
Yes, there's a question that I see here. It's not addressed to me; it's addressed to Tembele, but I'm sure you'll also answer it after I say this. But then it says, "How did you prepare for interview sessions?" And I think I can just say that with interviews, it's important to realize that your interview does not start at the moment that you enter the interview room. Your interview starts from the moment that you walk into the gate of that building, from the moment you greet the guards at the gate, when you greet the receptionist. I read in an article by one of the HR practitioners that I work with that she says that within the first 10 seconds, when fetching a person from reception for the interview, she has already made a first impression of them and what they are like. So it's really important to behave and act in a manner as if you're already in the interview, sitting in the interview room from the moment you walk into a building. From your handshake, it's important to have a good, firm handshake. So yeah, that's just what I wanted to allude, that it is not only about your interview questions and how you answer them, but you as a person from the moment that you arrive at on an organization.
That's an interesting fact. Thank you very much for that. I'm pretty
also,
sure.
Patrick.
Yes, sir.
Yo, sorry, you can continue.
You may proceed, sir. You may proceed. It's perfectly fine.
Yeah, I was busy typing, answering the very same question that Mrs. Mputi just answered. Yeah, on how I prepared for my interviews, as some of the interviews are telephonically, some are even on Skype. So what I saw is that with every passing interview, the better I got and the more okay, let me just finish here. That's when I saw.
Apologies. Natasha, could you please kindly assist by unmuting Mr. Koketsos, who will assist him privately?
Okay, he is actually unmuted.
Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you, sir. Please do mute his mic, ma'am, so that we can be able to proceed. Natasha, please do kindly mute Mr. Koketso's mic. And Mr. Tembele, you may proceed, sir.
Yeah, so as some of the interviews are done electronically, even some where you have to go to the office, presentation is important as much as Mrs. Mputi has reiterated there. However, also the very first question and how you answer your very first question structures the entire conversation with the interview panel. Like the very first question will always be, tell us about yourself, or tell us who Patrick is, or tell us a little bit about who Tebile is. How you answer this question, I saw with myself or from experience that at first I'll answer this question with something that they have no interest of. Something like, I went to this primary school, I went to this high school. Rather answer with what you are doing there. Like, you can start with addressing what course you did and what you liked about your course and which modules did you enjoy and why did you enjoy those modules. Try to address the modules that are applicable to the very same post that you are being interviewed for. For like me, if I was being interviewed for something that has to do with risk, I'll mention that I enjoyed doing credit risk, and you do get the example that I'm making. So the reason I'm saying this is because the very next question that you are going to ask comes from whatever that you had said when you were telling them a little bit about yourself, and you are structuring the conversation to go in your own, what can I say, in your own condition. Like, you are structuring the entire conversation. So they'll be asking about what you know and what you are comfortable with telling them. That's when they'll engage with you. That's when the interview session will become more of a conversation. Whereas if you answer it with something that doesn't have to do anything with what you applied for, you'll get an odd session whereby they ask you questions that they wrote down, and the interview session doesn't go as good or as swiftly as you had anticipated. So answering the first question, you have to practice as much as you can on answering that first question. Try to talk about what you studied and why you studied that thing. And if you did your postgraduate, try to illustrate why you decided to do your postgraduate. Why did you want to learn more of a specific something? And what is it that you want to get out of this company or this interview? like structure the entire conversation so that it can become more of a conversation rather than an interview or question and answer.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's how.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Temele.
Okay, just
Mr. Zondo. Yes, sir.
Yes, I have a mini hack. So I think there's a website by the name of Glassdoor. So they provide assistance in terms of interviews. So if there's a specific role that you're applying for or you're going to be interviewed for, they provide interview questions that you might expect, as well as insights on the company. That, okay, if it's a Standard Bank, this is the review, these are the things that, this is the overall employee experience, and these are the high level salaries of individuals working in that environment. So one of the best hacks one could ever have access to is going to Glassdoor just prior to an interview, have visibility of those interview questions, and then you'll be more prepared for that interview. Thanks.
Interesting. Thank you very much. Is there any other thing that you would like to add upon within your field that you want maybe the students to understand for the last remaining minutes? And please do allow me to apologize with regards to Mr. Koketo's internet. It's really not coming through. So what we'll do is that his session, we are going to upload it on the Golden Key website or on the Golden Key chapter social media pages. So please be on the lookout for that. Directly to you, speakers, is there anything else that you would like to reiterate, to add, anything of some sort? Mr. Zondo, anything else?
Sorry, nothing from my side. Thank you.
And to you, Mr. Temile.
Sorry, I've been talking with my mic mute. No, I am saying I did clarify everything else. So unless there's another question, I'm still reading on the question on the panel, the question and answer side there. So I'll pop in if I see there's any question that I can answer.
Thank everyone for joining. Yeah, well, yet again, I strongly believe that this was indeed a fruitful webinar. Those who wanted to grasp certain things, they were able to grasp it, especially in the complicated fields of EMS and law. And once again, apologies for Mr. Koketo with his internet connection. As I've stated again, is that his session is going to be uploaded on the GK social media, so please be on the lookout for that. This show does bring us to the end of the webinar. Thank you very much, everyone, for being in attendance. It really is appreciated. We're going to have more of these webinars and sessions so that you can be able to talk and interact with your professionals in your respective fields. And with that being said, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That is all from us.